a single shot of espresso. It's hot, it's dark, it's opaque, it's rich, it's creamy, it's a little bit bitter. Java Hi-Fi single shot integrated amp. It's not creamy or rich or dark or opaque. So I'm trying to draw the connection, and then it kind of hit me. Enjoying a single shot of espresso is maybe the purest way of enjoying coffee. And likewise, listening to the Java Hi-Fi single shot amp is maybe one of the purest ways of enjoying your music. This is Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. Let's see the title. So Java Hi-Fi popped up in 2016 with a Kickstarter project with a passive preamp based on an LDR volume control. Now an LDR is a very simple way of, and a very pure way of controlling the volume, basically one component. It's not easy to implement though, and so the designers Martin Bell and Chris Daly came up with a product, nice passive preamp called the Java. They had a couple versions of it with single, I think, balanced inputs as well. And so that was the Kickstarter project, 2016. That was kind of the genesis of the brand. I remember going back, there was a Melos preamp, the SHA Gold, that used a light-dependent resistor as a way of controlling the volume. I think Tortuga uses it in modern days. There are some others. But Java uses that in their preamp section here, with the intention of creating something very, very transparent, very clear, very uncolored. What we have here today, this is the Java Hi-Fi single shot integrated amplifier. The LDR preamp with a couple goodies built in, a 200 watt per channel into 8 ohm GANfet power amplifier. It's got a built-in DAC, built-in phonostage, moving magnet, 2 RCA inputs, Bluetooth aptX, and just gorgeous casework. I mean, they have a standard version, and then this is the special edition carbon. It's got a beautiful carbon fiber chassis. It uses Isoacoustics GANfet. It uses special ETI Research connectors on the rear. So those are silver-plated copper connectors, very, very high-end. The whole thing is just gorgeous. The first time I saw Java Hi-Fi was at the Montreal show last year, and I actually went there looking for beautiful components. I wanted to kind of see what really looked kind of unique and interesting, new designs. And this is kind of a conventional design, you know, a box with 2 knobs and stuff. But just the implementation, the curves, and the design of it just really struck me, and I gave it my award for the most beautiful amplifier. Of course, that was the standard version with a wood case and painted, but now this is the carbon version with the carbon fiber casework and the brushed aluminum faces and these beautiful big chrome knobs. It's really an absolutely gorgeous piece. It's really, really nice. It's got a 200 watt per channel into 8 ohm GANfet power amplifier section with the LDR preamp section, so it's very pure, very transparent. A built-in high resolution USB DAC, USB input only. It's got a built-in moving magnet phonostage. It's got Bluetooth, 2 RCA inputs. I didn't try to open up. I usually I like to open up these components and have a look inside. This doesn't belong to me, and it's a very beautiful and gorgeous and exclusive piece, so I didn't want to risk opening it up at all. So I just looked at the spec sheets. A switch mode power supply inside, 32 volt rails. The DAC is dual Burr Brown PCM 1794A, so it'll do 192 24-bit. The phono preamp 47K loading, and the whole thing weighs about 24 pounds. On the Java website, it mentions pricing from $12,995 US. This one came to me from the really good folks over at Le Studio du Son, lestudioduson.com, lestudioduson.com is the website. You can check there. There's a form you can fill out if you have any questions. You can see all the details and everything, and you can send them questions and place an order and do all the fun stuff to look for the other Java Hi-Fi products on their site. Okay, so what does it actually sound like? What can this thing do? Well, I got it home, I plugged it in. I think initially I was plugging in my own phono stage into the RCA inputs, and I was coming from my Class AB amp, and it really struck me how clean and clear the Java was, very transparent, but there wasn't a lot of warmth or weight to the music. I mean, there was certainly low end. I mean, it reaches very, very deep, but it just didn't have that kind of mid-bass heft, that warmth through the mid-range. It did lack any dryness. A lot of Class D amps that I've heard have a kind of a dryness to them, which is really hard to describe unless you've heard it, and this had no touch of that whatsoever. But it didn't have a lot of heft, it didn't have a lot of weight. But it was very transparent, very revealing. So as I listened to it more, I don't know if it was breaking in. After 20, 30, 40 hours of listening over the course of about 2 weeks, it really started to sound much fuller to me. Whether I was adjusting to the sound or it was breaking in, I don't know. I'm not going to make claims one way or the other, but I did notice when I first put it on, it didn't have that warmth that I liked. At the end of my listening after about 2 weeks, it really sounded full and warm, and I really enjoyed the sound of it, on top of it being super transparent and super revealing. So I started listening by spinning some records. Put on this Bruce Coburn record. I really like to listen to this one. It's kind of a reference of mine. So I tried with my own phono stage plugged into the RCA inputs. It's a synthesis phono stage, and it sounds, warm and dimensional like a tube phono stage you would expect. And then I also plug my turntable in directly into the Java. The built-in phono stage on the Java to be very quiet. The bass was more extended, less pronounced a little bit, but more extended and more defined. And the top end was very resolving and very detailed. It actually, listening to my turntable through this phono stage increasingly as time went on, I really noticed how good my cartridge is. I have an MP500 Nagaoka, and I knew it was good, but when you put it on better equipment, you can really notice it. It really brought out the best in that cartridge. You could hear quite into the music. Compared to my synthesis, the images were less 3D. They were flatter. But when I had the phono stage for the Java in place, it was a bit wider. Wasn't quite as deep. Wasn't quite as dimensional. But it was cleaner and quieter. Eventually, I stopped switching back and forth, and I just left my turntable plugged into the Java, and kind of enjoyed it for the rest of the time, just plugged directly in. I wouldn't say the phono stage is really better than my external stage. It's just different. It's quieter, it's more detailed, it's cleaner, but just a bit less 3D, bit less dimensional. Now, I did a bunch of listening with the digital input on this. High resolution DAC in here, dual Burr Brown chips, and it's USB only. Had an Eversolo streamer, and I also have an R2R DAC. It costs about $1,900 Canadian. Comparing it to the DAC in this, on first listen, the R2R DAC had a more powerful bass, a bit more dimensional. But again, as time went on, but I really started to appreciate the detail and the transparency of the DAC in this, and the way this plays as a unit. So when you stream USB input only into this, either from a laptop or from a streamer, the performance is really quite good. I noticed listening to Amazon Music, you could really tell what a step up in sound quality it is over Spotify. That was a bit floored. That floored me a little bit. So I played from my laptop. I listened to Arcade Fire, Everything Now. So in that song, there's this kind of flute melody that's played throughout the song. Right at the end of the song, you can hear it, and you can hear how it's played, and you can hear it's not really close mic'd. It's mic'd a little bit further away, and you can hear the sound of the room. You can hear how big the room is, and that melody is repeated throughout the song. In the middle of the song, it's quite buried in the mix. I mean, it's you hear it, but the way I could really tell how good this DAC was in the Java was when you hear that flute melody in the middle of the song, you can still hear the ambience of the room that it was recorded in, separate from the rest of the stuff that's going on in the song. So it's that kind of detail, that ability to hear right into the music and hear right into the mix that I really enjoyed listening to this, listening to the Java. There's another song that I was listening to. It's Amadou and Miriam, and it's Mon Amour, Mon Chéri. And I've been looking around because I wanted to read the lyrics of this song while it's being sung, and I can't find anywhere that has an accurate set of lyrics online that depicts what's being sung in this. But the vocals in this, the main vocals, they come on quite strong, and anytime I've heard it, it almost sounds like it's being oversaturated. Those vocals are very prominent and very strong. And anywhere else I've heard it, they sound a bit distorted. They sound like really, really sharp and really forward. Listening on the Java, the vocals came in really clean, really clear. You could tell that distortion that you kind of hear, that kind of overdrive in the vocals when he really expresses himself. That's more an artifact of everything else I've been listening to. And in this, you can tell how clean it is, and the emotion in the voice really comes through. And so I was quite surprised to hear that. Like that was a really, that sharp element there. It's like, oh my God, when I hear those vocals, I can hear how the detail comes through and how clean it is. And that was the overall feeling I really got from the Java, was how clean, transparent, and clear it was. Like, maybe it's this technology in that LDR preamp or what, but it's really evident how pure a signal you get going through this. So I was listening to the Björk album Volnicura, and there was a song Not Get on that, and her voice comes through really delicately. You can really hear the space, the strings that come in, they just bloom, but the bass, around the first third of the song, there's some really, really deep bass notes that come through, and I just love the feeling of the bass coming through this amp. It just starts rumbling in it, and it's just kind of there. I mean, it's really low. It must be in the 30 or 20 hertz range, and it just blooms up as if it's part of the foundation. It doesn't even sound like it was coming from the speakers. It was just so natural and clean and just evident. So that real deep bass comes in so clean and clear and powerful. That's what really impressed me, especially with the amp. It wasn't a warm, fat bass like I'm used to with my other amps, whereas this was just really clean and deep and extended and defined. And so it was a really different way of listening to music that I started to appreciate over the 2 weeks of listening to it. I do have another amp here, another integrated that's only about $2,000 or $3,000. But I put that one on, and on that amp, a much lesser quality amp, it was still good, but there was less sparkle, a lot less transparency. There was more warmth on it. It was a more warmer sounding amp, but you still didn't have that deep bass extension and fine detail and really quiet background. That was something that, when you step up several levels to a component of this quality, that's the stuff that really becomes evident. I was listening to Muddy Waters. My home is in the Delta, and the dynamics that really came through. Part of the background being so quiet and so dark. Every time there was a drum hit, it just kind of surprised you. I mean, it's periodic and it's regular, and you would expect it to be there, but it just like that force of the drum just kind of made it jump every time, and his voice just came out, and then the spaciousness came through. I really enjoyed listening to those tracks on this. So most of my listening was with my reference Carver speakers. They are vintage, I guess. I mean, they are from the 90s, so I guess that's a while ago now at that point. The crossover point is around 150 hertz, so the subwoofers handle everything below that, but everything above 150 hertz is basically handled with one driver, and so they have the ability to be very coherent, and I guess they can show a tremendous amount of detail still, because I did notice the difference when you step up to an amplifier of this quality. I mean, the improvement really is palpable. So they were good. They were good enough, certainly good enough to show off the strengths of the Java. Just for fun, I put it on some of my other speakers. I do have a pair of triangle Comets, and again, the amp really made those speakers sound better. I found that they disappeared from the soundstage easier. It was a more seamless, wider open soundstage, and the bass was still extended and powerful. I even had fun putting it on my old Noresco speakers, and those speakers are about 97 dB efficient, so they're very efficient. And I like to put them on because that really helps you hear the noise floor on an amp, especially when you turn off the source and you just listen. You put your ear up to the speaker. When I played the Java on it, and I turned off the source, and I sat in the listening position, couldn't hear a thing, dead quiet, absolutely silent. Go up to the speakers a little bit more, still don't hear anything. Put my ear right up to the tweeter, a little bit of a hiss. You must admit, but I mean, they're super efficient. Right there, you could hear it. Step back a foot, couldn't hear anything. So for all intents and purposes, this thing is dead silent. So maybe I'm raving a bit, but I mean, this thing was so detailed, so transparent, and I texted someone recently. I said, don't tell anyone, but I'm really starting to enjoy the sound of a GANfet amp. I'm starting to like Class D, which was not something I had, I didn't identify myself as a Class D lover, but you get a component of this quality, and you can really start to appreciate all the advantages of it because it's done so well. I didn't love everything about it. There was a couple things. Because the preamp stage is passive, I found the input sensitivity wasn't quite there from my phono stage and my DAC. When I plugged into the RCA inputs, you really had to turn up the volume a bit more. It's not a big deal. It's just if you switch between the built-in phono stage or the built-in DAC and then an external component, there's going to be a difference in volume that you'll have to compensate for by turning it up a little bit. There is no balanced inputs, so I think you have to step up to an even higher level to get balanced inputs. The phono stage, there was no capacitance options, no loading options. It's just no gain options either. No, I think it does have a built-in rumble filter. It was seamless, really deep bass out of it anyway, so I think that option is taken care of. But no gain settings or phono loading. So if you have a turntable, or you're running a moving coil cartridge and you have a step-up transformer, you might want to look at different options than the built-in phono stage on this. The DAC was spectacular, though. I think you'd be hard pressed to better the DAC in this in a reasonable price point, because it just operated so good. The remote control is very nice. It's very slim, very small. It worked really well. I like the fact that you can dim the lights. The the lights that come on for the volume and the input selector. There is a night listening mode that you can turn it down. But honestly, the lights are really not obtrusive. It's not like bright blue LEDs or anything. It's just nice and diffuse, and I like the way that it comes up on the volume knob when you turn it up. So you have the option of turning it down. I never did because I just like the way it looks. So in the end, what did I think about the Java Hi-Fi single shot integrated amp? It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a really nice looking piece of equipment. The sound quality made me appreciate and maybe love a Class D amplification. I could see replacing a bunch of separates with something like this and really not missing out on much. I mean, maybe if you had a, if you have a big vinyl selection, maybe you'd want an external phono stage, but if you're running digital, I think this is a really, really good solution. I mean, it's got enough power to drive basically anything, 200 watts per channel into 8 ohms, 400 into 4. It's really quiet, so it'll work on high sensitivity speakers as well. The price point is quite high comparatively. This is a big chunk of money, but do you get what you pay for? You get the exclusivity, you get the sound quality is undoubtedly there. You get some gorgeous casework and beautiful components, connectors, footers. If that's the price point you're looking for and these are the things you value, you really can't go wrong. But honestly, in the little couple of weeks that I was listening to it, it made me fall in love with that sound. So thanks again to the Studio du Son for giving me a chance to listen to this gorgeous amp. Contact them if you have any questions or if you want to enjoy this sound for yourself. Thanks for listening. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I reply to all the comments, and I love hearing feedback from you guys. It's really a big part of why I do this, because I love connecting with people, giving my experiences, and hearing the feedback. Thanks again for watching. Take care. This is Dave Listens to Hi-Fi.